So where's the music?
Welcome to Focus. I'm Deborah Palmer. So many times the elderly, they become a little older and they're left on their own to manage by themselves, scrap together any food they can, and sometimes they're ignored. But there's one agency, the Council for the Jewish Elderly, that recognizes this problem, and they've done something about it. They've developed the Jacob and Marcella Leiderman Geriatric Health Center here in the Chicago area. And here to tell us all about it is Leonard, the president of the board for the Council of the Jewish Elderly. Welcome.
Thank you, Debbie.
First of all, how did this whole concept of the Leiderman home evolve, or center?
Well, the Leiderman home is really a star in our crown at this moment in time. It's probably the last piece of the puzzle that's been put together in terms of our total program of care for the elderly. It all dates back to 1971 when Jewish Federation called together a series of their agencies. They called the Parkview Home, BMZ, which was then located on the west side.
BMZ stands for what, by the way?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
They also called the Drexel Home and a series of other agencies in order to evaluate what they were doing through their various agencies for the elderly. Obviously, the population had been getting older, and at that time, the only thing that we were really doing for the elderly was through our old age homes. There were the three of them. They provided total institutional care for the elderly. And at that time, there were 3 homes which accommodated approximately 750 elderly people. The real question was, what could we do for a broader spectrum of the elderly community? And so in 1971, these various groups got together in what was then called the Gerontological Council. At that time, they interviewed geriatricians, physicians, psychiatrists, sociologists, and so forth, who from all over the country who were familiar with the problem of the elderly.
And what were they interviewed for? To form a board?
No, they were interviewed in order to get information, just to pull information together so that we could create a program that would care for the elderly on a broader base than what we had, 750 people. So from there, the Council for Jewish Elderly was created in 1973. At this point in time, from 700...
And you've been with them for, what, 9.5 years?
Well, I've been with them since its inception. I was on the Gerontological Council and previously on the board of the Parkview Home.
Okay.
So that goes back to 1967.
You're a true historian, okay.
Yeah. All right, at any rate, from that council came CJE, and we now serve over 7,000 people with various kinds of services, starting with Meals on Wheels, transportation programs, legal.
Are there waiting lists to be part of the 7,000?
Absolutely, absolutely. The thrust of the Gerontological Council was to keep people in the community as long as possible, as opposed to institutionalizing them.
Okay, now how do your centers differ from an institution?
Okay, well, for one thing, we are, through our services, there is no institution. The institutionalization comes when the elderly can no longer live in the community. But the thrust of our program is to keep them living in the community as long as possible with these services. We provide apartments for them where they are necessary. We help them pay their rent. We help them with their landlords, dealing with their landlords. We provide apartments if they're not available in the marketplace.
They have to have some measure of self-sufficiency
to
get around by themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And as I say, the thrust is to keep them in the community as long as possible so that they can be on their own, and this was what the experts in the field indicated in these earlier studies that we had. So, from apartments, Meals on Wheels, transportation programs, nursing services in the home, cleaning services if they need them. We also have daycare centers for the elderly, which is similar
What need do those provide?
Those provide time for children who have who are taking care of their parents or parent to get away during the day, or where one member of a couple needs some place to go during the day. We provide a daycare center, similar to a children's daycare center.
Okay, now how did the Leiderman Center, the whole concept, eventually develop?
The Leiderman Center, well, first I have to say that the BMZ closed on the west side. Then Parkview Home was an old facility in 1971, and at that time it needed to be replaced. It was located in Humboldt Park. So there was always a need for a geriatric center. Leiderman came about approximately 5 years ago, when we purchased some acreage in Skokie, and that became the nucleus for the new facility. Now, the Leiderman home is a total geriatric facility, which consists of 240 private rooms with private bedrooms.
Is this full capacity now?
We will be at full capacity with the inclusion of the Drexel home residents that are going to be moving in October. So we will have 100% residency, yes.
Now what about the people? I heard there's a waiting list. What about the people who want to get in?
Everybody is very, very excited about this one because it is very unique. It is unique in the sense that it's new, it's all private rooms, private bathrooms. It will have the most up-to-date facility. It costs $12.5 million to build. It has a floor plan which is divided into neighborhoods. There are 12 rooms to each neighborhood, 48 rooms per floor, and or 240 beds on 5 floors.
It's stretching to say this almost sounds like communal living.
It is. It is. In each neighborhood, there is a central living room where everybody can congregate and chat and do their own thing, and then they have a private dining room on that floor if that kind of service is required. Otherwise, everybody goes and eats in a community dining room on the first floor.
Are there 4 neighborhoods?
There are 4 neighborhoods to a floor.
They intermingle?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We hope they'll intermingle.
Are you hoping for some shiitake coming?
Well, you know, that happens too. There's no question about that. And when that occurs, we also have rooms for couples there.
Yeah, how many couples do you have coming in?
Well, at this moment in time, I think there are 7 who have applied for occupancy there.
Now, what I find is very crucial to the care of these people, you have a therapeutic service, you have medical staff. What is it? You have nurses, doctors, what's the ratio?
We have a medical affiliation with Mount Sinai Hospital that provides our medical leadership. We have a 24-hour, we have physicians 24 hours a day. We have a resident program which is being established at Leiderman, never having been done before. We have 24-hour nursing services and all of the other facilities that are necessary for this kind of facility.
Now, people who can't get into a center like Leiderman Center, what's the difference in their living habits? What would they be doing if they weren't living in this kind of place?
Well, if they had to be in an institutional setting, then typically they would go into a private nursing home. Now, the difference is, I believe, the quality of care and the social services which we offer, which is not typical. In other words, the cost of our facility is substantially more than a typical nursing home. Our cost of occupancy is $80 per day per resident.
Is that partially subsidized?
It is partially subsidized, yes, where necessary. However, we believe that families should take as much responsibility as they possibly can. Our admissions policy is predicated on need, not whether a person can afford it or not. We have some people who will be paying the full cost of care and others who will be paying very little.
Do you involve the family a lot as far as
We
the activities?
try to. We try to.
Family day?
Oh, no, we have them there. We want family involved on a day-to-day basis if they will. And many families do participate with their parent or relative in the home.
Now, from what I've read about it, you have myriad activities for these people. I don't know how they have a chance to rest. By the time the evening comes, they're probably exhausted.
That's right.
If you can just outline, I know there's a typical day, maybe a typical few days, how a person in the Leiderman Center would spend his day.
Well, they get up in the morning, they get dressed, they get cleaned up, they go down for breakfast. Typical day.
Do they would prepare their own food?
No. They go, where it is possible, they go down to the central dining room, which is on the first floor of our facility. After they've finished breakfast, then they could very well see their doctor or go to occupational or physical therapy.
Okay.
And then they rest. Then they will have lunch, and then in the afternoon they will have other kinds of either therapy or we are going to have I can't think of the name of it now. Regular centers for doing jobs that they will be paid for.
The workshops.
A workshop, right, exactly.
Go ahead.
So they can work in their workshop or whatever. Then there's knitting and sewing and all kinds of things. Arts, absolutely.
Now, do you find this to be a natural setting? And here they have people waiting on them and giving them food, and they have the doctors. Do you try to form a very natural setting? This is a community, just like a city. You have, I think, urban centers.
Oh, yes. Sure. The urban centers consist of these central living rooms. We have all kinds of public facilities on the first floor for them. We have social halls. We have a synagogue. We have our dining facilities. We have a gift shop. And residents can participate in all of these things, too, if they would like.
Do they actually work there?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And they make things that are sold in the gift shop.
Fantastic. Now, I just want to touch upon, since this is for Jewish people, right? Exclusively for Jewish people?
Yes, at this moment, yes.
Okay. What kinds of Jewish activities? Do you have a rabbi on hand, the
we
synagogue?
have a full-time rabbi. It is a kosher facility. So they have a synagogue, of course, and they have minions every day. And they have all types of religious activities. As a matter of fact, I must tell you that Mr. Morris Weissman, who is 108 years old this month, has told us that he must be the first one in the home because this is the only thing that he is living for right now. And he has to be the first one to bless the synagogue.
And of course you'll let him.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got to. Do you find living in this kind of stimulating environment with people who otherwise would just sit around, but here they're encouraged to be stimulated, do you feel that has a way of enduring one's life?
Oh, absolutely. People have to be interested to keep on living. They must be interested in something. They must have goals, and we try and provide those goals for them.
Now, what kinds of things have people come up to you and said, oh, this has done so much for me? Do you have these wonderful stories?
Oh, there are literally hundreds of stories, not only from residents but from families as well, where people have not been able to fend for themselves, and this has become a whole new way of life for them. You'd be amazed the number of elderly people who have no relatives and nobody cares about them. And we're able to fill that void. We have one other kind of housing which is very interesting that we're going to be opening shortly, and that's our Robinow House over at Howard and Costner. That's a communal facility, a group living facility, which is made up of a series of townhouses that are joined together.
This is a very unique concept.
Very unique.
Only one of its kind.
It's the only one of its kind in the United States, although it is being copied There are 24 private bedrooms here. Each 4 rooms have a central living room and small kitchen so that they can make their own food if they wish for breakfast and for
That
lunch.
same city environment, the
Yes,
community environment.
exactly. Then the residents will involve themselves in care of the facility if they have the wherewithal to do it, if they can do it physically. They will plan their own meals. They eat together in a central dining room. They come and go as they please, by the way, because these people are the more ambulatory kind. This facility is 1/2 the cost of Leiderman.
And what's the eligibility for this kind of
Well, just simply that they can no longer live in their own private apartment anymore. They need a group setting, they need an organization, and they need perhaps additional help, nursing care or whatever. Now, we don't provide nursing care per se, but we do have a nurse on the facility 24 hours a day. We have a housekeeper and a therapist. They do occupational therapy there, and they also have a workshop.
Now, what goes on in this workshop? You mentioned this a few times. I mean, do they
Well,
actually
do.
hammer?
Oh, yes, and they do weaving, and there are a number of companies that need small things done to their product, like sewing on buttons or something like that.
It gives them something. Now, you had talked about the nursing care and the medical care.
Yes.
Are there ever any difficulties as far as a private doctor and then the doctor who's in the building? When can you interfere? When can the private doctor intervene?
No, there is no problem at all, because while we have 24-hour medical care available at Leiderman, each resident has the right to use his own doctor. And our medical staff will take instructions from those doctors, those outside doctors.
I see. So if ever there's a need for hospitalization, you would contact the private doctor and
Yes,
make the arrangement.
yes. Otherwise, we would use our own medical staff, and in all probability, the resident would be sent to Mount Sinai Hospital.
You've done so much with it right now. Can you see it expanding even further? Let's say, where can you see it going in the next 10 years?
Well, certainly 240 beds, yes, 240 beds does not meet the needs of the Jewish community. However, it is very costly to provide those kinds of services and facilities. It seems to me that where we're going in the future is toward this Robino concept, this group living concept. The cost of this kind of housing is inexpensive by comparison to a Leiderman facility, which is so institutional in its concept. And as I said before, it costs 1/2 the amount to keep somebody in that kind of a facility as opposed to Leiderman.
Sure. Now, what your staff, your group has formed or has developed seems so obvious, like this is the ideal way to live. What has kept us so long from developing this before?
Well, economics, the cost of institutional care is so very, very expensive. And most communities didn't have the wherewithal to provide these kinds of services. Furthermore, you have to step back and review what's been done in the past, and I think this is where we were far-sighted, where Federation was so far-sighted when they created this gerontological council, because we did step back and we studied and we looked and we compared communities. And all of these things led us into the program which we're currently embarked on.
Did you actually survey the elderly
Oh,
and ask them what their needs were?
Absolutely.
Like if you just asked someone, what are the first 3 things you need in a living environment, what would the 3 things be? Make it 4.
Yeah. It's, we didn't do a survey in that fashion, but I think peace of mind is probably number 1. They're concerned about housing, they're concerned about their economics, and they're concerned about their day-to-day performance in the community.
So many times, children of the elderly, they have a battle between themselves, and unfortunately not their parents, but because of the parents, you know, should we put them in a home? Should we keep them ourselves? Well, I have a full-time job. I can't take care of my mother. Do you ever get this? Do they come in and say, oh, I feel so guilty?
Of course, of course. I think that every child who has, or relative who has found themselves in this situation is terribly conflicted because on the one hand, they can't take care of their relative physically, emotionally, or for whatever reason, and yet they are also conflicted in that they feel that they are disregarding them by putting them in an institutional setting, and it's a very, very difficult conflict.
And at the same time held accountable for it.
Absolutely.
So how do you deal with that? I come in and I say, I don't know what to do with my mother.
That's another thing that I think that CJE is unique in that we do work with families. We unfortunately don't have enough funding to do the kind of job that we should be doing, but it is an area that is within our 5-year program, which is to be implemented, and we are working and have worked with families in order to try and eliminate some of this guilt that they have. But most of us in a lifetime, at one time or another, do have to face this issue.
And so you just say, this is the way to go.
That's right. And
you
see, many people feel that they're the only ones in this situation, but in fact, it's not at all unique.
Have you ever had counseling sessions for the children?
Not precisely in that fashion. However, families do talk to our staff people all the time. And our staff is very reassuring. We have a super group of people that work for our agency, and we have a tremendous board. Everybody is terribly dedicated to this program.
Sure, they'd have to be. Have you had people go in who don't quite feel right, they're feeling old, and after they've been there a while, they feel like a new person? Have they come up to you?
Oh, yes. We have some people who come in in wheelchairs and who walk out and leave our institutional setting to go into one of our group living
What's
areas.
the secret? Is there a secret?
Just simply that they are rehabilitated, they become reinterested in living, and they move forward.
Just like that? It just happens overnight, or does
no,
it take a
takes
while?
time. It takes time. Remember, the aging process is such that you don't reclaim that quickly.
Now, on September 13th, the people are actually moving into the Leiderman home.
From the Parkview home.
From the Parkview home.
Yeah, they're going to move from Drexel on the 25th of October.
So you're going to have an exodus. Now, how are you going to have, it's still an adjustment. It's a new place, it's a new roof, new bed, new people. How are you going to facilitate that adjustment?
Well, what we've tried to do is involve our residents in the total move. Most of them have seen the Leiderman facility. They may not have been in it, but they know about it. They have seen floor plans. They have selected their own neighbors in their neighborhood. And so they are very, very
like their buddy
high.
system.
Oh, yes, absolutely. They're very high on the program, and everybody is very, very excited. We intend moving everybody into the facility before noon. Our board members and volunteers are going to physically assist in the move of our residents. It'll start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and hopefully we will complete that task in a caravan by 11 o'clock in the morning. We're asking all of the residents' families to wait for them at Leiderman and to welcome them. Absolutely, absolutely. To welcome them to the new facility. And at 12 o'clock, they will go down for lunch in their new dining room. And their day will continue.
Well, now that you've got Leiderman home underway, you've got Robino, what else is Council for the Jewish Elderly working on?
Well, that's the brick and mortar that we work on. What I am very, very proud of is our community program. our community program, which reaches out to the elderly who live in the community, who need help, and we are a source for that help.
What kind of services can you provide for them?
Meals on Wheels, nursing services, cleaning services if they can't do it in their own home. We have a total transportation system in East and West Rogers Park. And we have a housing program. We offer them legal services where they require it. It's amazing how many elderly have legal problems. They don't know how to handle it. They either won't ask.
Because a lot of us just don't think, as soon as they become quote-unquote elderly, that magical age, who knows what it is, people think, oh, no more problems, you know, they just live their life.
No, they have a lot of legal problems. Some of them have to draw wills. Some of them have problems with their landlords. Some of the buildings that they live in go condominium. They can't afford to buy an apartment. Where are they going to go? So they require help from time to time from lawyers.
Now, how do you get your clients, if we can call them clients?
Sure.
Do they call you, or do you seek them out?
Well, it's both ways. We have service centers in East Rogers Park, drop-in centers, where the elderly come in and have a cup of coffee and schmooze with the volunteers or with the professional staff there. At that point in time, they become a part of our program. They register in, and we then know where they are located. There are many people who are obviously suspect of our program, and they have to...
What reasons?
Well, they're just unsure. Why are these people helping us, they say. You know, what's in it for them?
Or
no, not offended, because they wouldn't use our program if they were offended by it, but they're just simply suspect. Well, after we gain their confidence, then they become a part of our program. And our drop-in centers are very, very heavily used. We have Shabbat parties every Friday. And it's really becomes
How many people are you servicing? We talk about these people dropping in. About how many people?
Well, in our drop-in centers, I would say several thousand. In total, our program serves 7,000 people, 7,000 elderly.
You can sum up pretty quickly. What can you see? Are people becoming more aware of the problems of the elderly, or not seeing them as old people who can't get around, but as human beings? Is that changing?
Oh yes, I think that the problems of the elderly have been highlighted in the last decade. For one thing, our elderly population is growing. The average age of a person in Leiderman is 85 years old. The average age of all of our elderly population is growing. So obviously their needs are growing as well. And we have to be in a position to meet those needs.
Well, Leonard, I think you really are. If people want to call and find out about getting into the Leiderman home, where should they call? What's that number? 973-4105?
Perfect.
Would that be it?
That's the number.
And where is it located?
It's located at on Howard Street in Evanston, 1014 West
1014 West
Street.
Howard. And they can just call the Council for the Jewish Elderly?
That is correct.
And ask for you, or...
Just ask for an intake worker.
Intake worker?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, and we hope all of you have become a little bit more enlightened about the elderly, and not their problems, but their wonderful life ahead of them, and the Leiderman home and the efforts the Council for the Jewish Elderly are making. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching Focus. I'm Deborah Palmer.